live listening to Processa Talks podcast. I'm sitting here with Piero Penizzotto. Is that how you say it? How do you really say it?
Yeah, I mean, there's like, I guess everyone has their own way of saying it, but my mom's like Piero Penizzotto.
Penizzotto.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay. We're sitting here in Piero's solo show in White Columns Gallery. Shout out to White Columns Gallery for hosting this and supporting this program. And also shout out to you, Piero, for inviting me to be here.
Shout out to you for accepting.
No problem. Yeah, I've been following your journey and we've been in conversation for quite a while now. So it's been a pleasure to just like see you grow as an artist.
Likewise.
And I just remember like the first time we met, you invited me to your thesis. Was it your thesis at Hunter?
Hunter, yes.
What year was this?
2022. So like last year, yeah.
Yeah, last year. Why does this feel like ages ago?
Yeah, it does feel like ages ago, but I think a little bit over a year at this point, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's been beautiful to witness your growth and like even looking at the work, like the quality is just like leveling up. I feel like every time I see it. And also just congratulations on having a solo here at White Columns. White Columns is a legendary space, work with some legendary artists. So this is a moment for you.
Mm-hmm.
How has it been just like preparing for the show and that process?
It's been a lot, like still processing at this point. But yeah, I'm just very grateful to even have like a show here in New York and a really amazing institution like White Columns. Yeah, so I graduated like last year, and yeah, I guess like every artist, you have ambitions of like wanting to be in shows and do shows and everything. I guess like the first few months was kind of rough. I was just mostly like just working, trying to save up for like a studio. But just like hoping that eventually I'll get like a show. But yeah, it wasn't until like earlier this year that I got in contact with White Columns and they offered me a solo show. And at first I was a little hesitant if I could even be able to go to the full extent that I want to, because I didn't have a studio space. But just like talking with friends and such, everyone's like, you have to make it work somehow. And I guess like I was limiting myself in my head, which now I learned that I shouldn't do that. So yeah, so like all these works here is just were made in my living room at home. So basically, yeah, this show I learned a lot about like me limiting myself and what I'm capable of with the limited space and resources that I have. So yeah, it's been a huge learning process these past few months.
Okay.
And happy it's paying off.
It is. Yeah, I think we were just talking about it earlier. Like, I remember when you invited me to do a studio visit, and like you were asking me like, how do I get opportunities? Like, I want to be in shows, and like just to witness you a year later, and it's like happening. It's beautiful to witness.
Thank you.
I know there's a lot of family history here in this room that you're speaking about with these sculptures. I want to get into your background. What was your upbringing like? Where did you grow up? And what was that experience?
Yeah. So yeah, I was born in Queens, Forest Hills. I moved in 2006, and we went to South Florida. I spent most of my like middle school, high school there, and I've always wanted to like come back up here, because I felt like I moved from New York so early, but I was like going to the museums as a kid, and just I guess like at an early age, like just doing art and like in art class and such. And before moving up here in 2019, me and my friends would take like trips here, like every year to like look at museums, galleries, and take like tours of the schools up here. And yeah, so in 2019, me and my friends had moved up here to go to school. I ended up in Hunter. Another friend of mine ended up in Pratt and such. So it's been a lot of I guess now that I'm back up here, I kind of miss Florida now. Something about moving back, but yeah, the sun, the beach, and also like some friends down there as well. You know, thankfully I've been able to make a lot of friends up here quickly, and yeah, so that's how my upbringing is. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you go more into what was it like at home?
Yeah.
And yeah, I know. You know, you have siblings, you grew up with a single mom, hustling, I want to hear, what was that?
So growing up at home, I'm the oldest of four. So right over here on the left, I'm right now, I guess for the audio, it's I'm pointing at the sculptures here. So on the left side, it's me with these sweaters that I like to wear from Peru, and on the right is the second oldest, the Jamaco. He's currently in the Marines. And the other two, with the green shirt, is Enzo. He's 10 years old. Or no, he just turned 11, like a week or so ago. So, and right here is Mauricio. He's the youngest of the four. And yeah, so we all grew up together with my mom and my grandmother. My mom, Milagros, and my grandmother, Amparo. And yeah, so it was mostly, just us. My mom, she worked 2 jobs, during the whole week. We would see her, after work, but mostly, my grandma would be at home, doing, cooking food and, cleaning around the house and such like that. And my dad was around as well. I'd see him on the weekends and such. And although I guess I didn't grow up with him every day at home, it was really important to have his presence at least. I really appreciated that. And I guess the only figure that wasn't really around much was my grandfather. He passed away 2008. So I guess I would learn more about him through stories that my father would say. And yeah, so mostly was just growing up with my mom and grandmother.
So it sounds like a lot of the women, your mom, your grandmother were holding it down to take care of all 4 of you.
Yeah, definitely. I just look up to them for all the work that they've done, to help me and my brothers have a good childhood, and it's also just really I was talking with my brother, just really nice to see how we're all doing what we love to do. Me, I'm able to do art, and my brother really loves serving the country, so he's able to do that, and now witnessing my 2 younger brothers, and seeing a little bit of myself, and me and my other brother, how we see ourselves through them, and what they want to be, I guess I try to be the best, I guess a good role model, and also support as much as I can to help guide them to what they want to be in the future. So.
Is this your first time doing portraits of your family for your artwork?
Yes, definitely. It's before this I was just doing friends, who was up here with me, when I was going to school at Hunter. I had some coworkers that were interested in having a sculpture made of them. I was pretty much experimenting early on, and I still am about the positioning and the figures and the way they're dressed and such. So I didn't get to do my family, and so for this show, like I wanted to I guess like dedicate the show to them, and also I guess like a proper introduction to me for the art world and for everyone else. Like, oh, like if you want to know about me, you got to know about these people, because I wouldn't have been here where I am today had it not been for them. So.
Right. I think it's a beautiful way to honor those in your family. I think a lot about artists who make work about their family, whether it's through painting, but also like portraiture work. This one is really unique because usually we're used to seeing like portrait painting and commemorating through that way. This is also painting, but it's also, sculpture. You're literally, usually painting is more flat. Here, you're literally like documenting their whole figure, their body, and then incorporating everything on top of it. But I usually think of like, every family has a story, right? Yeah. And that's the thing about family. I think, especially when you're going through that age of growing up, you're in your early 20s, you start looking at your family maybe a bit differently, and you start realizing, family stories that were never told. It's a very personal and deep narrative, and I could just imagine like what that process was like of uncovering some stories, or spending time with each of the members of your family. Can you go into that? Like, I know you also interviewed each family member. We did a portrait up here. So what was that process like of, doing that? This is literally documentation, but also listening to them.
Yeah, like, I guess like, me growing up, like I'm always like the quiet one. Like I just like listening to my family, banter and telling stories and such. So like at home I would always like watch my grandma cook, or ask her questions about like growing up and such.
Wait 1 second. What did she cook?
There's like so much.
I need
like,
the smells, the aromas.
Kiara Cristina Ventura. I mean, just I still like whenever I think about that, like I can't wait to like see her again and like eat with her and such. Like I always I like hearing stories, and even outside, like through friends and coworkers and such. Like I always like hearing people's stories. But there's like moments where I guess I could learn a little bit more from them, and for this show, like I wanted to know even these people like my mom and my father, like them as individuals, not just like as my mother and as my father, and like my grandmother, not just as my grandmother, but them as people, and like asking them like how are they like as teenagers, or like when they're my age and such, and not all of that is shown through the interviews that I have up, because these are just like I guess like excerpts of like longer interviews I've done with them. But yeah, I guess I wanted to guess to know more about them before anything.
Yeah. Was there anything that you learned, new information that you learned about them through making these pieces?
Yeah, it's like it's weird because I guess with anyone, when you have such a big family, and so you try to whenever you're with family and you hear them talk about stuff that happened in the past, and you're just trying to put these pieces together for the bigger puzzle. And I guess talking to them these past few months, I'm like, oh, okay, so this is why my mom moved to America, and oh, this is how my mom met my dad and such like that, and why my grandmother wanted to raise her children and also her siblings at the same time. I guess a lot of the pieces are connecting now. And also, even with my second oldest brother, Jamaco, learning to know more about him now since we both moved out of the house, and it's like, we would catch up like every month or so because we're all like busy with work and such, but it's always nice to catch up with people.
Something I also love about the show is you're telling your own personal narrative, but also from a wider lens. You are telling a story about migration, immigration to the U.S. Your family is Peruvian. Can you tell me a bit about like that family history, your mom moving to the U.S. and why you also wanted that to be told in this gallery?
Well, yeah, so my mom moved here in the 80s. She wanted to, I guess like learn more about like America and such, like, and we had like a few family up here already, and basically, yeah, like she wanted to go to school up here and be able to, I guess that's something I would like to ask her more about, I guess my grandmother, she only really came up here just to help support my mom when she had me and my brothers. She was more like comfortable in Peru, and she's back there now that we're older, and my mom doesn't really need all that support. So she's over there now in Peru. I guess like my father's side has been in America longer. My grandfather came, I think in his 20s, back in like the 60s, and he came here by himself, and he eventually met my grandmother working at a restaurant, and she also came to America like around the same time back in the 60s. And I guess, yeah, like I really like hearing like stories like from other people as well, like families immigrating here and wanting to support their families and such. Like, yeah.
So speaking about your grandfather, I heard the audio online from the show, and the way your father spoke about his father and the connection that they had, that they ran a restaurant together, and it's just so cool to see like the sculpture in person, see that moment of them cooking together. Can you tell us a bit about, like that story?
Yeah, like I just growing up, I unfortunately didn't get to speak to my grandfather growing up. I guess that's like one of the biggest regrets is like not being able to talk to him, get to know him from person to person level. But yeah, I'm very grateful that my dad and my grandmother would tell me stories about him. And yeah, when he came to America, he just started working in restaurants and such. And eventually he had my dad and his siblings, and my dad was the one that wanted to also get into the restaurant business and get to learn from him. And they were just side by side like for decades. And at one point they owned a restaurant,
and the restaurant was here in New York, right?
Yes. Yeah, I forgot which part, but I think it was like in Midtown. Yeah.
Okay.
And like that's the whole world, like just serving people through food, and I really love that. And I guess like my dad would say like even with him like he felt like he didn't get to spend that much time with my grandfather, like he passed away in his 60s. So there's often moments where he still thinks about his dad and wanting to like talk to him through dreams or through prayers and such.
It seems like from what I've heard that their relationship was through food, and your grandfather was the head of the restaurant, and Yeah, I just really enjoyed the stories. Also, like, your dad, like, just listening to the audio, I was like, this is an OG New Yorker. Like, the way that he talked, I was like, you know, shout out to the OG New Yorkers. But yeah, he was just talking about, like, being in the restaurant industry, and I like how you did the scene of them making food together, because it seems like that was their love language. It seems like, and I feel like that's what happens a lot, you know, just growing up with your family or with your abuela cooking and all that stuff. Like, the food is like an unspoken language. They might not tell you everything, you know, they might be in a certain mood while they're cooking, but, you know, that's how they share, you know, saying, hey, I love you, I care about your survival, here's some food. Like, I know you're hungry, here's some food, you know, because I think, I feel like we all have those figures in our family that have kind of like the sense of pride and like not being vulnerable or not speaking. But we have those figures that are just like talking through food and showing that they care through food.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, I think even like a big thing of like once I moved out and I was on my own in 2019, like, I was never like I didn't appreciate or anything like that, but it's like I just miss so much of like my grandma's cooking, my mom and my dad's cooking as well. Like, I'm trying to learn by my own, but it's not quite the same. But yeah, that's something I've noticed is just how food plays a big part in yeah, like as a love language, like how we show gratitude to one another. And
okay, I feel like I want to get to all the questions here too. All right. Let me make sure I'm like, that it's go through everything. So I know we went over who everyone is in the room. Was there a favorite piece in like making it?
Yeah, that's a tricky question. Like, I was making all of them at the same time. It's not like I finished with one and then go on to the next one. So which one I enjoyed the most? I guess the one with me and my second oldest brother Jamal. Like, because I guess like the backstory behind it and the way we're like sharing the lab, and we didn't really have much of that growing up, unfortunately. And even through the interviews, we talked a lot about like us growing up. We didn't have like the best relationship, and just looking back at it now, it's just like what was all of that for? Like why did we do that to each other and all that?
Wait, did y'all argue? Like growing up, was there like fights? Because I have an older brother too. 1 year older. We used to like.
Exactly. Yeah, we would always go at each other for, and now we look back, it's like, what was the point of all that? Like, it's so dumb, and yeah, like growing up, like we just, you know, after those arguments and stuff, we didn't really talk much, and it wasn't until we both moved out that we started reconnecting again through phone calls, through like sending memes and such like that, and now it's like we can't wait to see each other again whenever we get the chance to. And yeah, I guess that's like the overarching theme of the show as well, in the family, but also, you know, I guess like reminding myself, but also reminding others is to, you know, to break those grudges that you have with other people in your family, or just other people in general, you know, like, you know, maybe at the moment it may seem like, I hate this person, whatever, but like, now looking like the bigger picture, you realize like, oh, that's not really like as important, you know, like you just really should just, you know, just work it out together. I don't know, like,
yeah,
because we just have like a little bit of time, you know, so that's what I think about a lot.
Right. And I feel like there's, from just my perspective outside looking in, it seems like there's an overarching theme around like brotherhood but also like the masculine energy of the family. You have your grandpa, your father, your brothers, and maybe like learning from those older generations and breaking, I think we all sometimes think of breaking the generational curses, like learning from the older generations of like, okay, we saw how things panned out for them, and you could see some families sometimes, family members being regretful of things they didn't get to tell somebody, especially if there's someone that's passed, right? And you think as like a younger person in the family, well, how can I navigate this differently with, the younger generations, my brothers and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's beautiful to like capture this really positive moment between you two.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I wanted to tell myself, and also hopefully tell others. Well, I guess like encourage all of us, like is to learn from one another. Like me, I guess like learning the mistakes that my parents have made. That like, and hopefully, in the future, hopefully when I do have my own family, like, try to be there, as much as possible. And I guess also with like the older figures, like I didn't really grow up with like an older male figure. Like I never grew up with a grandfather, so I've always wondered what that was like, and maybe hopefully I get to experience that in the future. But yeah.
Experience that in the future, like you being.
Yeah, maybe.
I will.
Yeah, hopefully, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, so just learning a lot through my mom and my grandmother, like I guess the woman's perspective, like how a wife should be treated, how a mother should be treated, and I guess now since me and my brother are a little bit older, like how we could be like a good role model to our younger brothers and passing down that knowledge to them, and hopefully they basically like all the mistakes that my parents made, that we've made, that hopefully they don't make those mistakes, and hopefully my kids in the future don't make those mistakes. So yeah, it's a lot of like learning through generations that I wanted to like capture with this show.
Out of curiosity, have your family members seen these life-size portraits of them, and what was that experience like?
Yeah, they came in like 2 weeks ago because they live in Florida, so they came to visit. And it was a surprise. Like I didn't want to like show them beforehand, and I mean I told them like the show is about you guys, but I didn't tell them like how they were going to be depicted, and also the interviews I did of them. I didn't really tell them like how much of it was going to be shown or what was it for to begin with. But yeah, they all really loved it, and even when they were here and afterwards, like it was just a lot of reflection going on, and so I was really happy about that.
And your little brother got to see himself, right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And these drawings here, he made them. So he was wondering like what I was going to do with these drawings.
Okay, artist assistant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love also hearing the interviews with your little brother. He was talking about science and dinosaurs, and like I love how you captured that. Just children they're so refreshing to be around. Their sense of imagination, enthusiasm for any interest that they have, and he was well educated on dinosaurs.
Yeah. After the show, when they came, we went to the Natural History Museum, and he basically gave us like a 2-hour tour of like all the fossils, and he knows like all the names and like the timeline with all the different dinosaurs, like what they evolved to them. It was like the best tour I've ever gotten. And yeah, me and my brothers and my mom were just like looking at him silently, just like learning from him. And he wants to work at that museum in the future, so he's very articulate.
He was probably dropping gems on y'all.
Yeah.
You guys were like, wow. So these are made out of paper mache. I'm also thinking about how long it takes to make each of these. The details, the paper mache, the painting, like what drew you to this material? Because I think this is the type of medium that, you know, it seems like it's you have to have a lot of patience.
Yeah.
So why paper mache? Like, what is your relationship to that material?
Yeah, that's a question I get often, like paper mache specifically, because there are a lot of like cultures, like South America and Caribbean, that they use paper mache a lot. But I'd be lying if I said that was the reason why I gravitated towards paper mache. It was more so like out of the necessity, because I've been doing sculptures. I first started off with like wood and metal, but then the COVID happened and all the schools were closed. So during that time, like from home, like, I was more so like I was learning how to like paint and such, because I didn't really took the time to learn painting skills. And after that, like I really wanted to go back into sculptures, because I felt like that's like the medium that I gravitate to more. So I figured out like, oh yeah, I could try paper mache. Like it's very inexpensive. Like at my job, there was like magazines that no one really took, and I just grabbed them for myself and grabbed some wood glue and some tape. And you know, I started off with some smaller objects, you know, just to see where this goes, and I liked the results from it, and then I just kept doing it. Like at first, basically like my first studio was like my bathtub. Like I just put like trash bags over it and just like build it from there, and then paint it, and then.
Oh my god! At your mom's house?
No, like here in New York, because like the schools were closed.
Oh, okay.
And then the schools opened again, and then I had a studio there, and then once I graduated, I was back, you know, working from home. But this time I had like a better layout of like having tarp on the floor, not working in the bathtub, but now working in the living room, and I'd say that the building part takes longer. It takes like 3 to 4 weeks, and then once I have the building part done, it takes me like a week or two just to paint. And I like to work with multiple sculptures at the same time. Not just because of like the themes of like the show that I'm working on at the moment. I just want to do it all at the same time. But
so you're one of those artists that it's not like one piece after the other. You're like, I want this whole, you know, the energy to be around me, and you want to be like engulfed in it.
Yeah, so definitely the energy plays a big part. Like, because I guess at some point, you know, I could feel a little unmotivated or like a little bit tired of one piece, so I just bounce on to the next one. And eventually I get all of them done. So.
Okay. Is this a meditative process for you? Like, what are your feelings like? You know, are you one of those artists that you're just like, I love the details and just kind of like going in on like everything? Or like, what is your relationship there? Like when you're making the piece, like what is your energy like? Like, do you have music on and it's like a vibe, or you're just kind of like more like in your own little world?
Definitely music. I also like listening to other artist talks as well. So I definitely have a lot of audio playing in the background. I guess with this show, I wanted to play like music I listened to growing up, like in my house back in Florida.
Can you drop some names?
Some Juanes.
Okay.
A lot of Spanish music. I'm trying to get back into it because I don't know. Lately, I've been listening to a lot of like American music, but like, I wanted to touch back into like what my mom listened to growing up. So yeah, like Juanes. And also, me and my brother are named after musicians that my mom liked. So
really?
if you look up Piero, that's like a big Argentinian song singer, and then Jamarco is like another popular musician as well.
That's crazy. Your mom named me after like a famous merengue singer named Kiara. So that's cool.
Nice. Yeah.
Shout out to the moms naming us after musicians.
The title of the piece of my grandfather, Viejos, that's a popular song of Piero. So yeah, if you look that up, that's like another that piece. Yeah. So yeah, I like to listen to a lot of music. Some often on the phone with like friends or family. I guess I can't be quiet. Like I have to have noise going on, and there's moments where I'm very fixated on the details, like the sweaters or like the designs on the shirts and stuff like. I like going into detail in those parts. But then there's times where I tell myself, okay, then enough detail, move on to the next thing, because I do have a deadline. So.
Okay. So I want to go more into, I guess, your work within the wider art world, but also like artists that have inspired you. I know you have mentioned that you've been in conversation with the legendary artist John Ahern, which is he's Bronx-based, is really deeply associated with the history of like art in the Bronx. I think in like the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
What have those conversations been like with him?
It's been amazing, like to get to meet him in person and to consider him as like a good friend. Like I got into sculptures like in 2017 when I was in community college. I took like a sculpture class, and my sculpture professor, she just introduced me to like a bunch of names to like look at, because she saw that I was doing figurative work back then as well. Like I wasn't really even looking at other sculptors. Back then I was more so into collage. So I grew up liking Romare Bearden, Jacob Lawrence, or Space Gold. But as I was getting more into sculpture, she told me about John Ahern and Red Brooms, Marisol Escobar. And eventually I bumped into someone who knew John Ahern, and I thank him to this day for introducing me to him and getting to go to his studio and learn from him. I just like that, like he's still around and I can still get to know him as a friend. And before, like I mentioned, like Jacob Lawrence and Romare Bearden, like unfortunately they're not around. I would have liked to talk to them. I'm very thankful in that sense of getting to know him. And he came to this show and I like how we're like in conversation with each other.
I mean, that's amazing to have that connection. I think usually like when I'm witnessing younger artists like go on their journey, but also like when I see work and I'm like, this work is in conversation with this artist and our history, and I think it's so important to have that sense of awareness and be like, I'm building on this narrative. Even if you're working with a certain, material, like these are all of the artists in the past that have experimented with this material as well. And to know that you're also adding to that generational conversation is really important. Also, when you brought up Romare Bearden, I'm just like, oh shoot, I never made that connection in my mind, but just seeing the abstraction within his work, the boxiness of the figures, and now I'm looking at your work and I'm like, I see it now, how these artists have abstracted the figure within their work, within their painting, and I'm seeing like how some of those styles have crossed over and created this beautiful fusion and visual language that you're working with.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess from the very beginning I was always into artists that talk about social commentary or like their communities. And like the Harlem Renaissance, that was like the big art movement that I fell in love with as a kid. And eventually I learned about other artists as well. And there's even some artists here in the room that I also look up to.
Dope. Okay. So, I'm like thinking about how you're creating this visual language because, these aren't like realistic renderings of, all the people that you're doing these portraits of. It feels almost like animated, the bodily rendering is a bit thicker, it has like this presence to it. What made you like develop this certain visual language?
Yeah. At first, I guess I was just limited with my painting skills. Like when I was first learning how to paint and such, it was mostly just tried my best with what I knew, and I was like learning through YouTube videos and such, like skin tones and different like color theory and such. But I guess with me, like I try to achieve like I guess I emphasize one, like the gestures on their faces, and the way that they're positioned, very animated, because I want to get like the emotion out through the way that they express themselves physically and also through their faces as well.
I think another like added layer to this is like even thinking about the artists that you just mentioned that are deeply ingrained into like art history and also your art history. I think what's beautiful about portraiture work is that it captures that moment in time, right? It's not only the person and their energy, because that's powerful within itself, right? Like I'm already, I never met your little brother, and I'm like, I want to meet him. He seems like a vibe. He seems silly. He seems funny, So I think that's powerful within itself, but also within this wider lens of, you documenting culture, right? This is a sense of like Peruvian culture, right? Even like the sweater that you're wearing, the food, the memory. There's a sense of like nostalgia in this room as well. But also thinking about fashion, right? Like if this was a recent photo of you and your brother, it's like documenting, on so many levels. The time, your family, the memory, the energy, but then fashion, art, culture, you know what I mean? So I think that's what's beautiful about your work. It's like, it definitely is in your face, Even when I was standing next to, your father over there, I was just like, I just kept looking. I was just like, wow, we're like almost the same height. He's a little taller than me. So just to have that interaction, I feel like there's also this sense of play within your work because they all have this like bodily presence in the room that just gives another aspect to it. Okay, so what are you thinking about now in terms of your practice and what you want to create next? Like, what are you envisioning in terms of pushing your practice?
Well, I think like what you just mentioned right now, like the sense of play, like I just want to keep pushing that, like, have fun with what I'm making, because I feel like the second I'm not, then what's the point? So I definitely want to continue with like the narrative of family, of community, and also like what's going on right now, because that's something that like me and my friends didn't really see much growing up, like going to museums and galleries. And lately, like these past few years have been changing, thankfully, and we have some artists here and some people here that are contributing to that. So I like the direction that the art is going now, and just showing people within our communities and outside of that, like, oh, this is what's going on here, and to expose people to that, that's like a really, I like that feeling. Like recently, like last week, I work at a school, so we had a school field trip here, and getting to see those kids like asking questions and like interact with the sculptures is like that's like what I would have liked to see growing up, but also, I'm glad that it's there now for them, so I like that. So basically I'm just trying to push more on that, creating imagery that I would have liked to see growing up.
Okay, let's enter a dream space. What is like a dream project, dream show? Is it an installation? Give me some visuals of something that you would like be super excited to make.
Does that have to be one, or could it be multiple?
Dream it up.
Okay, so I do want to do public artwork, maybe like a park bench or like a park here, like this, like a big thing growing up for me was like going to the parks, playing with kids there. So I definitely want to do public artwork in the future. Hopefully do some work in Peru as well. And I guess just push more towards like installation, bigger pieces where like figures are interacting with objects and fleshing out the narrative in the world that I'm trying to create. So.
Okay. In terms of doing work in Peru, what do you imagine over there?
Like public artwork is like a big thing over there. If you ever get a chance to go, there's like huge sculptures like in parks and in popular areas that people go to. So I would like to do like a public artwork over there, or maybe have a solo show there. That's something I would like to do.
Okay. So continue in the future. What are you you have a solo show, Congrats again, you did it. And what are you imagining from here? And also, if you want to, drop some info on whatever you have next, any plugs, feel free.
So I do want to have a show in South Florida, so it might happen soon. I do want to make some work down there, and hopefully my friends and family could go down there and see it. Try to do some more work up here as well in New York, maybe other parts of America as well. That'd be cool. But yeah, I guess it's mostly just me. I'm just trying to work as much as I can these next few months. Pop out as more sculptures as I can.
Cool. All right, that's all I got for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for doing this.
I'm gonna open it up to Q&A for the audience. Anyone have any questions? And if you do, I'm gonna hand you the mic because you're gonna be on the podcast. Or if you could come right here.
Hi, what's good?
What's up?
Yo, so I wanted to touch upon, because you had mentioned, bringing.
Oh wait, what's your name?
My name is Brian Fernandez. I'm one of Piero's peers. He's one of my best friends in the art right now. So you had brought up how you brought the children from your school to the exhibition. So this is a two-part question. The first one being, what has the impact been of this show on this group of native Latinos who are like growing up and again are having access to the arts in ways that we haven't even had growing up? And additionally, what are ways you intend on possibly incorporating or involving these children into your practice more, whether it be in photos as inspiration for sculptures or even being part of the process? What are some things that have been coming to mind recently with that?
I guess to answer your second question first, I would like to maybe work with the school that I'm teaching at right now, or maybe the DOE in general. Because although my work is like for all age groups, I really like working with kids and just because even when I'm at work, I like listening to them and hearing what they have to say. And I just think a lot about myself when I was their age, learning about art at their age. Maybe it's a tricky thing because I guess you have to get like permission slips and stuff if I'm going to do someone a student of mine. I would like to do some work with the kids that I know. I guess the first question, it's been really inspirational, because for many of them it was like the first time they went to an art gallery. They didn't even know what a gallery was. They'd never been downtown because the squad work guys in the Bronx. So it's just really nice to see that and exposing them to that. Hopefully I could do more field trips throughout the year. But yeah, it's mostly like I think about like like what I was taught when I was their age, and just about, like you learn more so about like the traditional stuff like Renaissance or like modernism and all those movements, and I mean all of that's important, but I really want to show them like what's going on right now, because there's so much more and so much has changed. So and I feel like that can do something to you, at a young age, like, because I can't imagine. It wasn't until like college that I learned about other artists of color and stuff. I was like, oh wow, there are artists very similar to me and my friends. So if I could cut that line short to introduce them to artists at a younger age, I feel like that could do a lot to kids. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Good. Going once, going twice. Alright. I think we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you everyone for being here, sharing this space with us. Thank you again to White Columns. Shout out to Violet for holding it down with all the logistics. Thank you, Piero. I'm wishing you many, many, many more blessings, and I can't wait to witness you on this journey.
Thank you, Kim. I wish the best for you as well, and thank you for everyone coming with the weather and everything. Really appreciate you all being here.